U.S. Navy SEALs embark on a covert mission to recover a kidnapped CIA agent.
Proceed to target, recover the package, and move to extract.
Target secure!
But they quickly discover a larger threat against their country that leads them on a worldwide chase.
How can you stop this?
I can't.
Risking their own lives, they battle the terrorists in a climactic showdown in Act of Valor.
Well, we're talking about Act of Valor. We've all just seen it. Dennis, why don't you tell us about it?
I felt this was the first film that's really targeted at a specific video game audience, and that audience is these hyper-realistic, modern military first-person shooters, specifically the Call of Duty franchise and the Battlefield franchise. And this is a big audience. The video game industry is larger than the film and television industries combined. Not only that, but the latest installation of the Call of Duty franchise made $1 billion in its first 16 days of release. It seems quite legitimate that movie producers would want to target that audience. With that intention, I just have to ask myself, how well did the movie do?
I don't really know where to start because I don't play video games. So for me to latch on to that paradigm of interactivity and the visuals that occur in these modern day video games, I just don't see it because I have no experience at all. All I can do is evaluate the film on its own terms. Is it a good film? Did it move me? Does it have an argument that it posits? What is it trying to say? And for me, this film was really an experiment because it used non-actors. I don't think it was specifically to achieve a certain emotional genuineness. I think it was to achieve a certain technical knowledge that real Navy SEALs would have. And so it didn't work as a film for me.
Well, I tried to view it somewhere in the middle. I mean, I'm a casual gamer, but I'm much more of a film goer. And one thing that I saw was this as a movie, I don't even think has as good a story as a lot of the video games do nowadays. The characters are more or less faceless. I couldn't remember a single name of any of the characters. I couldn't, tell you exactly what they did from day to day. Morales. So you could name one, but I bet if I go and talk to the video gamers, they could say Nathan Hale. He was the guy in Resistance. This is searching for that audience. I don't think it quite gets as far as it wants to go.
Before she was captured, Morales was working on a possible link between our boy Christo and this guy, Abu Shabal.
Specifically trying to bring that hyper-realistic, this is exactly the way it works in the military, to the movie. And they're doing that in place of the stuff that, let's be frank, often doesn't work very well in an action movie. Romance that you can't believe. Then there's the character development where the guy goes through this thing and now he's learned his lesson and he's a changed man. Yeah, right. So a lot of those things, they didn't work anyway. And to the way of thinking of these producers, let's get rid of them and let's put in stuff that our fan base will love.
One thing I did enjoy about the script was actually the voiceover.
Oh.
I thought the voiceover was interestingly written by Johnstad of 300 fame.
You don't expect your family to understand what you're doing. You just hope they'll accept it.
I'm so excited for you, man. You're gonna be a good dad.
And when you get home, you hope you can pick up right where you left off.
But it sets up the Navy SEAL as a man who likes abstract art and has all these interesting relationships with American culture and his perspectives about life, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, one major problem I had with the movie was that we're dealing with real Navy SEALs, and since we have real Navy SEALs in the movie, these are not actors. And
yes, I did not like that as well.
And it's very apparent from the scenes in which they have to essentially act that they have never been on film before. Certainly there's a technical perspective that's very realistic where we see them in their environment and we do things and we say, oh, that's realistic. But whenever they have to sort of talk with each other in dialogue scenes or say goodbye to their wives, you sort of go, yeah, this is not holding up.
I feel they would have been better served ultimately if they'd have cast real actors. Black Hawk Down proved that you can take real actors and train them to do the few things they have to do on screen to sell the fact that they're expert operators. It's much easier to do that than it is to take real Navy SEALs and teach them to act. So what you get is this great sense of physical truth because you see the real guys doing the real things that they would do. But what you lose is something that's, I think, is much more important, which is this emotional truth.
But they liked the fact that these were real Navy SEALs. They can put that on the poster. If you cast Bruce Willis in this role, you just have another Bruce Willis movie. There's no distinction. And I think that's what they were looking at, but ultimately it's a failed experiment from that point.
And the audience of people that I sat with, that surrounded me, were cheering during all the explosions and all the action scenes. And I heard lots of sniffles during some of the more sentimental moments. But it just does feel decidedly male and decidedly violent.
Well, I think we've all had our say, so let's take it to a vote.
For soldiers and their families, this film can be an inspirational experience. For everyone else, skip it.
The film survives on its intense action sequences, but it doesn't quite provide the true story of the Navy SEALs that it promises. Stream it.
This movie sets out to be a cinematic version of those military first-person shooter games like Call of Duty and Battlefield. And because it accomplishes that so well, I think fans of those games will really love it. So it's got to be a see it.
Well, it looks like our votes add up to 1.5 tickets, which is a stream it for Act of Valor.
I think that's fair.
Cheers. All right.